A very good morning to all the panelists and all the participants who have joined here. So this is a very unique session today, where it is in the memory of a very highly acclaimed educationist. So let me start off with a Bhagavad Gita shloka, which says, Yadyadacharati sreshtaha tattadeve taro janaha sa yat pramanam kurute lokas tadanu vartate. So whatever the great men do, that is how the entire world follows. And that is the legacy that has been left behind by a great educationist, a great personality, and a wonderful human being. I just had one chance interaction with Sir. So this is something which all of us have to take it forward. And I welcome you all for this particular session today. And to take us through this entire session, I have with me the eminent speakers. We have Mr. Pradeep Kumar, who will take us through the entire, he will be giving us the keynote address. And then we have Dr. M.S. Subhash, former Vice Chancellor of Krishnadevaraya University and former Professor and Dean of Kausali Institute of Management Studies, Dharwad. Then we have with us Dr. Ramakanth Kulkarni and Dr. Vishwanath Koravi, sir, both from Chetan Business School. We have Dr. Purushottam Bung, Director of RV Institute of Management, who is presiding over this program. So, of course, the backbone behind this entire one is, of course, Chachadi, sir. But he wanted to, be there and start with the initial remarks. But then because of some technical issues, so it is taking a little more time. So I think we could go ahead and just to give a brief introduction about our keynote speaker today. Yeah, Mr. V. Pradeep Kumar is a senior management professional with more than 4 decades of experience, a very diverse and rich experience, both domestic as well as international. Then the sir has completed his MBA from Karnataka University with the 3rd rank in 1980 and began his corporate career at Mumbai in 1980. After that, he has proved that learning never stops. He has completed a lot of short duration courses and enhanced his knowledge into diverse fields. So to tell a little about Sir's corporate life, he has had a very long tenure with Wimco Limited, a Swedish multinational, and took on the responsibility to start the southern operations of Tata Infomedia Limited as General Manager South in 1993. He is credited with the successful launch of Tata Press Yellow Pages in southern India and was part of senior management responsible for the diversification of the company into several B2B, B2C magazines such as Overdrive, Better Photography, AV Max, Search, and so on. So, and a significant contribution from 2003 until 2009, he headed Hawk Media LLC, Dubai, UAE, and was responsible for the resurrection of the brand Hawk. And not only a rich corporate experience, Sir has also had a very, rich experience in the teaching field as well. He has taught at Long Island University in New York, USA, in their India Center, Bangalore, during 2011 to 13 on globalization, media, and social change related subjects. During the same period, he has also taught MBA students of Acharya School of Management, Bangalore, on management, marketing, sales and distribution management, consumer behavior, and the list goes on. He is also a well-known guest faculty at many management institutions. Like Sir was just telling now, he is a prominent writer on career guidance, soft skills, and education. So he has come out with more than 200 articles, most of which are by Deccan Herald, Prajavani, and Sudha. So since June 2021, he is doing a weekly column for Prajavani. His first book, Simple is Difficult, was published in 2009 and released by Jnanpith awardee, late Dr. U.R. Ananthamurthy. Sir, it's an honor to have you amidst us and listen to your insights. And I request you to please take over the session. Probably, sir, with the permission of all the other panelists, Chachadi sir can come back once he joins. He can come out with the remarks, concluding remarks later on. So I think Pradeep sir can take over the session.
So thank you, Anupama.
Yes, sir.
So let me begin and hope Dr. Chachadi joins us soon. Mrs. Tigadi and other family members of Professor Tigadi, Dr. Chachadi, Dr. Subhash, Dr. Vishwanath Koravi, Dr. Purushottam Bung, Dr. Ramakanth Kulkarni, Dr. Anupama, faculty members from various institutions and universities, distinguished guests from various walks of life, students and friends. A favorite quote that I like to recall here is, a person's memories are their private library. A person's memories are our private library. And memories keep coming back and forth in our conscious and subconscious mind, when we are active, and in our sleep. Some people make such an impact on us that it lasts for a lifetime. 3 people who have made deep and lasting impacts on me are my father S. Venkatram, socialist ideologue who stood by the principles until his last. The second person is Mr. Ratan Tata, with whom I have had a one-to-one interaction and a personal correspondence that I cherish for a lifetime. And the third is Professor CB Tigadi, our beloved guru, economics professor, and an able institution builder and administrator. On 12th August, Professor was in my dream. And I remember he shook hands with me. And this was probably a harbinger of things to happen, because on 16th, I got a call from Dr. Chachadi inviting me to deliver this Professor CB Tigadi Memorial Endowment lecture. And here I am with all of you. So thank you, Dr. Chachadi, for inviting me to deliver a lecture and giving me this topic, role of ethics in public life, which is close to my heart, an outcome of my father's influence, and a subject close to Professor Tigadi as well. Britannica defines ethics as the discipline concerned with what is morally good and bad, and morally right and wrong. The term is also applied to any system or theory of moral values or principles. Public life is not just about politics. It includes everyone connected with all the 4 pillars of our democracy, namely legislature, judiciary, executive, and media, corporate companies in public or private sector, in any operational area, educational institutions, hospitals, sports business, religious institutions, NGOs, and includes everything other than what can strictly be termed as private. So if you are in public life, you must take the right decisions at the right time and the right manner. Ethics is a guiding force for us to tell the truth or keep promises, providing accountability between the public and the administration. So is there a framework or set of principles to help us make the right decisions and create positive impacts? There is. Often this is described as the 7 principles of public life, which are selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, and leadership. We very commonly associate corruption as a consequence of lack of ethics in public life. Corruption is the act of unfairly or illegally influencing a decision-making process through the giving or receiving of a benefit. It can be for the person making the decision or a third party or parties connected to the decision maker. Like most things, the basis of corruption is greed or desire, which begins first in the mind and then manifests in behavior and actions. And the driving force is money, fame, control, power, etc. I would like to demystify a myth that corruption is mainly in politics and governance. I think we do a kind of disservice to politicians when we think and talk about only them as symbols of corruption. Corruption is very integral to every institution of a society. But unfortunately for us, corrupt people are also very powerful with money and control. It's not easy to fight. I'm sure all of us have dealt with corruption in our own ways, either fighting it or often succumbing to it, because it is not easy. Let me share two examples or experiences from non-political sector. This happened about 10 years back. I had just come from Dubai, I guess, when a very progressive IAS officer took over as a BBMP commissioner. And he constituted a cell for reporting any issues related to BBMP. And a few days before, the road leading to our apartment was asphalted. And already potholes were reappearing in a week, nothing new. I shot off a mail to the BBMP cell with images of poor quality of the road, explaining that the ratios of the mix were faulty. Immediately, someone called me from BBMP and said, we will investigate and we thank you for bringing this to our notice. A few hours later, I got a call from the BBMP engineer, not to assure me of further investigation or to explain. You will be shocked to know he called to take me to task for reporting directly to commissioner and went on to explain what all services were extended to our apartment and how ungrateful I was. The contract for asphalting our roads in the area was for 80 lakhs, but the contractor actually got 35. So obviously the contractor had done the work according to the money he received. And this is what happens in most road contracts and explains why our roads are what they are, ridden with potholes. Sadly, and with a clear distraction of focus, very unfortunate that in Bangalore, the courts, the judiciary, and the ministry, everyone talks about pothole management and not how we should build roads guaranteed to be free from potholes. See how the policy and governance shifts, the focus gets shift over a period of time. Another example from a corporate life, we all feel often that corporate things are very different. I was in a very senior position in this company. One day I was traveling and I was staying in a hotel. I happened to get into a steam room of this hotel. And as I entered, somebody was already there. The man was already there and we started talking. The moment he came to know the name of my company, he became furious. In fact, he said, oh, that's the same company where that rascal so-and-so works. I was shocked for two reasons. One, we were very reputed in the external world. And I believed it was true internally too. The person targeted by this business person was a senior colleague, although from a different functional area. I told this person to give me more details so I can escalate it to the higher levels. And quite reluctantly, he gave me some details. He was not hoping something will happen. In right earnest, I took it up with the CEO and he told me to share details with another senior colleague. Although I did what was suggested, I could see nothing happened in the matter. I realized much later that there was a strong possibility of corruption involving more than one person. So corruption is in every sector of society. although government level is what hurts us the most. So what are the costs and consequences of lack of ethics? I want to share a few slides showing a performance on some key parameters. Are you able to see my screen?
No, not yet, sir.
Okay. I think you have to do something on a host disabled participants screen sharing. Can you
So just 1 minute, sir. I'll check.
Yeah.
Vamshi, you're there? Hello, Vamshi, please check. Please check the screen sharing option for sir.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Vidyadhar sir, check man. Sir.
Is it clear?
Now is it done?
Let me check.
Yes, sir.
No, it's still the same screen is there. Host disabled participants.
Okay. One second.
Yeah.
Madam, there is a screen share. You click on screen share.
Yes, sir. It is not happening. It is coming as disabled. Now.
All participants from your end, actually. That is actually I am unable to do it from my end.
I will check.
If you're not able to do it, let me know.
There is a screen sharing is there, right? Just click on that screen share.
Yeah, I know.
Hello.
Yeah, are you able to see now?
Hi, yes, sir.
Okay, thank
you. Yes. Sir.
Yeah. I'm just showing a few performance parameters. And these are the 4 pillars of democracy. I just want to mention here some of the issues, very common issues. We are all aware of it. So I just want to highlight that the legislature is the weakest link. If legislature is set right, I think rest of the things can be taken care. Now, these are just a few slides to put things in perspective. India is the 68th most competitive nation in the world out of 140 countries. This is 2019 World Economic Forum. And I would assume that, we should be at least in the top 20, for example. That's where we need to move. Because for an emerging country like India, I think we need to get there. This is how easy it is to do business in India. We must acknowledge here that there's a lot of improvement. There's no doubt about it. We can feel the improvement also, not necessarily by the graph. But we are still ranked 63, and I do hope we sustain this progress, and get into the top 10 or top 20. Our GDP growth is not something that is very great, I would say. And we can see here, GDP growth rate is about 5-6%. Of course, different institutions and different government agencies can quote different figures, but I think everything falls between roughly around 5 to 7%. 7 also is not there. I think it's around 6.5, I guess. So a few years back, I met one very leading, well-known Indian economist from US. Whether it is possible for a country like India to grow in double digits. Because when we do about 6%, 7%, 8%, we seem to be elated and very happy about it. Somehow personally, I feel it's not the right level. And I asked this person, who is a very well-known economist, whether it is possible to aim and achieve a growth of 12-13% by managing our agriculture, industries, and services sector much more efficiently than what we are able to do now. And he said it's definitely possible. So the current growth rate, even if it reaches about 7-8%, I feel is not adequate and definitely needs to be accelerated. And unemployment continues to be a concern. We're showing the figure is showing is about 7%. I think between 7 to 10% roughly is where we stand. And this slide talks about today's discussion, what is relevant to today, and where we stand in terms of corruption. And we seem to be 85th least corrupt nation out of 180 countries. I think some countries like New Zealand, Sweden, Denmark are right at the top. They are the least corrupt nations. And I don't think there's something that we can say we have done very well. So this is a real issue that we need to tackle. I just, while doing some work for this lecture, I just happened to come across this Times of India headline, which is talking about India losing 100 crores to banking fraud every day. Which means what? Which means every citizen is paying about 300 rupees a year towards losses due to banking fraud. I mean, every citizen. Shockingly, this is a much reduced figure than what it was earlier. I mean, this is in retrospect, this is something that we have achieved. And that is every citizen is incurring or paying about 300 rupees indirectly every year for banking frauds alone. So as we may observe, our achievements on various fronts, including GDP, per capita income, which has taken 75 long years to reach this level, can only be considered very average. And in hindsight, some of the policy directions in the initial decades post-independence, especially the thrust on public sector units, has backfired. As we know, the cost we have incurred is very huge in terms of accumulated losses. Roughly 2,000 years ago, it seems, one of our greatest economists, Kautilya, wrote Arthashastra, a complete work dealing with governance. And I was surprised, and some of you may as well be surprised to know that he devoted a chapter on corruption. Because of large-scale corruption involving politicians, bureaucrats, and businessmen, a huge parallel economy is built. Now it's anybody's guess how much it is. When I was trying to check, I always got a figure 50%, 60%, something like that. Although we often speak very high of our rich legacy, culture, and heritage, the moot point is, what did we learn and implement from Kautilya's Arthashastra or Dharma Shastra from Bhagavad Gita? And as I said earlier, unemployment continues to bother us, 8-10%. And we are not talking about underemployment here. We're only talking of unemployment. And a large section of our youth from rural and semi-urban areas are unemployed. And therefore, a significant human resource is available, which can be tapped for very productive uses. The issue is not just about low growth rates of development. The benefits of development or the outcome of development is not distributed in a fair and equitable manner across all sections of our society. And therefore, there's a very strong case to correct and uplift the quality of living of the poorest. We cannot eliminate corruption by making harsh laws or raiding corrupt people's homes and offices alone. We need a more sustained battle against corruption, backed by good governance. There are other key issues related to governance as well. There are huge write-offs of loans, uncontrolled subsidies, freebies during elections, all of which cost a huge sum of money, which indirectly belongs to us, the citizens. I believe such lectures, panel discussions serve the purpose only when it makes an impact and brings about even marginal, isolated changes. Apart from this, is there something that can bring in slow, steady, sustainable changes? I think there is. I shall devote some time to talk about a project very dear to me, which I believe can become a catalyst of change. When I returned from Dubai after 30 years of corporate life in 2010, the idea was to do something concrete and contribute to our society. I had some informal invites to join politics. My father is very highly respected even today. And so there was some informal invites to join politics. And there was some pressure to seriously consider, because people said somebody from Venkatram family has to continue. And I mentioned to earlier that my father is very highly respected. A lot of people at the national level as well as at the state level. But I was completely against the idea of joining politics, as I was not confident of bringing about a change in the way politics was being practiced by getting into a party. And further, politics in general is being looked down upon. And I was concerned about loss of personal reputation by getting actively into it. So I didn't want to get into politics or into a political party, but wanted to and still want to take some initiative which can be a catalyst of change. Because although corruption is massive, not all of India's problems are due to corruption alone. We have issues of attitude, skills, and knowledge deficiencies as well amongst bureaucrats and politicians. So such deficiency results into poor national performance and projects as a nation in very poor light. So my idea was to do something which adds to knowledge in the area of development and administration, job-specific skills, and attempting a correction in attitudes of people in politics and governance. So after many months of introspection, I came up with this project, which